During World War II, hundreds of planes were sent to bomb one city. These are dozens of sorties of each combat unit and thousands of bombs. Today, everything is different. One plane, one sortie and one bomb are enough to destroy the city. A nuclear bomb. The worst part is there's no chance of salvation. The warhead will reach its destination in a matter of minutes, from which point in the planet it is sent. Nuclear war won't involve just one shell. The country that first decides to drop the weapon of death will feel a similar weapon, because it will also fly in response. This program discusses the nuclear briefcase of the US president. This is such a small bag with the help of which the head of the Oval Office can start a nuclear war and end the world. A tiny device holds the power of thousands of nuclear warheads, which the president may or may not release into the sky. How does the startup procedure work in general? Why does the president always carry this bag and why? Review the program.
We live in a very dangerous time. There are 15,000 nuclear warheads globally, with 9 nuclear countries having disputes. US, North Korea, NATO, Russia, India, Pakistan. One mistake, one misunderstanding, or one fanatic president, and that's it.
The concept of a nuclear briefcase began in the 60s during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The US and USSR were prepared to start World War III. The initiative to create such a briefcase came from the then President John F. Kennedy. He asked a pretty logical question. How can the Pentagon verify a call to launch nuclear weapons is from the president? Especially if the call isn't from the White House. There was no answer to this question. A briefcase development has started for the head of the Oval Office. A briefcase is needed if the president is not at the workplace. It allows the president to dispose of such powerful weapons from anywhere on the globe. And even more. This device allows you to order attacks and plan missile destination and trajectories. In the nuclear briefcase of the Pentagon, there is a map with missile launch sites, a map of bunkers for shelter in case of a nuclear attack, and also the launch authorization codes, better known by the code name, the Biscuit. Startup codes are frequently updated, preventing hacking and launch interference.
Carter prayed daily for the spirit, intention and strength to respond correctly if a nuclear missile targeted the US.
The president always has the nuclear briefcase, but never wears it. Next to the American commander-in-chief is a military officer who always carries this briefcase. The White House head always knows this person's location and how to contact them. The Pentagon monitors those responsible for launching nuclear warheads. There are 3 such persons: the President, Vice President and Minister of Defense. Only the President can initiate a launch, but the Vice President is needed if the President is unavailable. There are 3 briefcases, the President's one, the Vice President's another, and one in the White House. It was removed from the US head only twice in history. In 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated with a sniper rifle. The second time was in 1981 when Ronald Reagan was shot. As Reagan went to the hospital, Secret Service agents held the launch code's briefcase. In all other cases, the nuclear briefcase is always with the president. This isn't surprising, as it's a powerful weapon that can change the world.
The president's decision will have a catastrophic impact on the world and humanity. When you are in the service, it is better not to think about it at all.
The startup procedure is very, very difficult. The president will consult his advisor before pressing the red button. He is there to dissuade the head of the White House from taking illogical actions. The Minister of Defense verifies the presidential order, and if confirmed, the launch and data go to the command center. It is already determined which missiles to launch, where and from where they will fly. And most importantly, in what quantity. The startup process is complex and involves many people and elements. Researchers say it takes just minutes from the Oval Office head's button press to a missile leaving a submarine, plane, or underground storage. In deciding on a nuclear strike, balance is crucial as it can't be undone. Moreover, in contrast to comply with the president's orders, they can be fired at best, and thrown behind bars at worst. Only those who have passed all American Special Services checks are hired for this area. If a spy infiltrates this field, they could sabotage a US retaliatory strike and prevent missiles from launching.
There is no rule of two people at the very top. Only the president can make this decision, but he does not enforce it. It all depends on the context. A leader won't be allowed to use nuclear weapons if they bomb another leader out of a fence. If the reasons are really good, it will not be possible to refuse the president.
Moreover, absolutely all links involved in the launch of missiles can refuse this procedure if the president's order contradicts the laws. In the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton questioned giving nuclear control to Donald Trump, who might act rashly over a tweet. There must be reasons to use a nuclear briefcase. You can't exchange threats with Kim Jong-un on Twitter and then exchange missiles. There must be a legal basis for this. This is a kind of protection against fools. If this did not exist, humanity would have turned to ashes long ago. Certain events could trigger the president's use of the nuclear briefcase. For example, a nuclear warhead flying at the USA. The White House head retaliates. An example is a threat to US national interests or security, like the Cuban Missile Crisis. In other cases, using the button is impractical and incorrect, because just one press can put an end to the world.
The president does not personally launch missiles, he only gives an order that starts the chain, which leads to the launch.
Historically, there have been instances where someone was fired for doubting or not fulfilling a president's intentions. This is unsurprising, as a presidential task must be completed. An incident occurred in 1973. Air Force Major Harold Goering questioned in a briefing, "How can I be sure the order to launch nuclear missiles is from an intelligent president?" He was instantly fired from his job. They argued Goering wasn't reliable for the service. He will still doubt executing the order upon its arrival. With nuclear weapon launches, only two options exist. If the president's order is legal and justified, fire missiles. If not, cancel the start. That's all. There is no other choice. Act quickly. The United States isn't the only country with a nuclear arsenal.
The startup procedure is strict. There is no such thing that the president wanted, and you didn't. The instruction leaves no room for improvisation. In non-nuclear hostilities, we have more maneuverability and freedom of action.
Nuclear war ends all life. One warhead kills in various ways. The first is a shock wave that demolishes everything within its radius. It depends on the warhead's power. The radiation's radius is always larger than the shock waves. It harms all life. This is the second damage factor. Radiation spread depends on weather. Wind can greatly extend the influence area. Equally important is the heat emitted by the warhead. All living things will burn, and those who avoid direct exposure will still get burned. It feels like putting your hand in a hot oven. An explosion in Denver could kill over 150,000 people. In a full-scale nuclear war, multiple launches are inevitable. A catastrophe is unavoidable, so the nuclear briefcase is carefully protected. They change the codes and, in case of critical situations, think about how to resolve the issue peacefully. A nuclear briefcase is a one-time solution. After that, it's over. Bombers and submarines can carry intercontinental ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons. The Trident submarine alone can carry 100 hydrogen bombs. A missile is 1,000 times stronger than the Nagasaki one. And this is just a submarine. Lethal weapon transport by bombers or underground launchers hasn't been cancelled. Thus, even if the briefcase is stolen, attackers cannot launch the rocket themselves. First, the codes change. Second, special services will soon realize the president lost briefcase access. They are watching the coded briefcase closely. Despite their inability to launch missiles, the criminals learn the locations of warheads and presidential bunkers. And then it will be a threat. Selling information about strategic points to other countries is a threat, even if they can't launch missiles themselves.
The military handling missile launches is well prepared. They know what they're getting into. When asked about launching missiles, one person said it was an unknown step. This might be the end of the world, but at least there are step-by-step instructions.
Donald Trump is considered by some as the most odious American president to have owned a nuclear briefcase. During his first term, this briefcase faced issues at least 3 times. In 2017, during Trump's visit to China, the American head was followed by the carrier of this briefcase. He stayed with the 45th president, even during dinner with Xi Jinping. The head of China's security service nearly assumed control of the nuclear briefcase. A skirmish between Chinese and American intelligence services occurred on the day of the presidential meeting. During the January 2021 Capitol storming, the missile launch code briefcase was inside. Only the vice president was present, no other politicians were around. A special unit was urgently deployed to evacuate the briefcase from the captured building. The third notable incident happened at Biden's inauguration. Trump did not come. In the US, the new president assumes power at midnight. Trump retained authority to launch missiles during his inauguration, including having the nuclear briefcase. Once Biden became president, Trump's security clearance codes and briefcase were removed. During the power transfer, anything could happen. For people who watch the swearing-in of the new president, this is an interesting and beautiful action. This is the most stressful day for special agents and those handling nuclear launches.
This briefcase is an incredible force. The US can deploy over 900 warheads simultaneously, each 10 to 20 times more powerful than those used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Many people work in the complex structure of nuclear launches. Analysts constantly consider the optimal placement, launch methods, and arsenal choice, air, underwater, or underground, for effective missile deployment. Pentagon employees are also responsible for warning the country about a nuclear war outbreak. The most responsible are those who press the start button. This is not even the president, but ordinary military. Like this woman. Her job is to use the world's strongest weapons as ordered by the White House head. The work feels like a vacation and isn't hard. You rest 24/7, excluding psychological factors. After all, it is really difficult to think that you are responsible for the end of the world.
It's difficult to predict the future. You just do your job, and then everything should happen by itself. But in general, you sit for yourself, talk to your colleagues, watch movies, and relax while waiting for an order.
In a nuclear war, the US president and top political and military leaders have a place to hide. First, there is an extensive network of bunkers throughout the United States that can accommodate hundreds of people and allow them to live there autonomously for years. The president has Air Force One, an aircraft designed for such cases. It is so technologically advanced that the US president can launch any nuclear weapon directly from there. The state considered the salvation of ordinary people. In a war, instructions will be given on where to run and hide, but space will be limited. The nuclear briefcase isn't exclusive to the United States. Leaders of nuclear countries, including Russia, the DPRK, Pakistan, or India, all possess a similar briefcase. Countries without nuclear capabilities can only hope all nations act responsibly and avoid allowing entry of such powerful weapons. In the US, the president, vice president, and defense minister are responsible for initiating nuclear weapon launches. And what if it suddenly happens that these 3 key persons are dead? A program called Emergency Missile Communications System is activated. In a leaderless country during war, especially nuclear war, its nuclear arsenal targets key global points. They are determined in advance. There is a similar system in Russia. It is called the Black Hand. It was invented during the Cold War to guarantee the safety of Soviet leaders.
The entire system is designed to move as fast as possible. If woken up at night, the president will have an advisor to report the situation and 30 minutes to decide. If he does decide to launch missiles, it is already a matter of a few minutes.
Today, there are over 13,000 nuclear warheads globally, all much more powerful than those dropped on Japan in 1945. In addition, the arsenal is constantly replenished. China and the DPRK regularly conduct tests to develop new missiles. They are stronger, more advanced, and can cause damage that makes ecosystem restoration nearly impossible for decades. Politicians' words and statements can be radical, harsh, threatening, especially when people like Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump exchange statements about nuclear missile launches. There is one but in this whole story with nuclear launches. Before any decision, the president consults an advisor whose main role is to restrain him. The role of the special services remains unchanged. Historical special operations have prevented nuclear war. If such a threat arises again, the special services will rush out. That's what they were created for.